you for being here. I know there's an episode of The Rest is Politics being filmed on the other side of town, so it's fantastic that you choose this venue this evening rather than that. Tonight we're discussing boomers and zoomers, yimbies and nimbies, as we debate the motion that this House would respect its elders, and we're delighted to be joined by some wonderful guests. So proposing the motion tonight, we have Dr. Jennie Bristow and Dr. Rob Henderson, who are joined by student speaker Philip Altai. And opposing the motion, Tom Harwood and Angus Hanton are joined by Emma Munday. Could we give a warm welcome to all our speakers tonight, please? As a quick reminder on format, each paper speaker tonight will last 10 minutes. And between each round of paper speakers, there will also be time for floor speeches in proposition, opposition and abstention. As usual, can I please emphasise that if any member wishes to make a point of information, they must be kept short, phrased as a question, and it is the speaker's complete right to refuse to take them. Okay, onwards. So opening the debate tonight is Dr. Jennie Bristow. Dr. Bristow is a reader in sociology at Canterbury Christ Church University, visiting research fellow at the Centre for Parenting Culture Studies and co-convener of the Generations Network. She is the author of Stop Mugging Grandma, The Generation Wars, and Why Boomer Blaming Won't Solve Anything. Dr. Bristow, you have the floor.
Thank you. So there are three sets of reasons why we should support the proposition that this House would respect our elders. Moral reasons, pragmatic reasons, and existential reasons. Moral reasons, well, why wouldn't you? Few here believe that they came into this world on their own merits, fully formed and dependent on no one for care, education, and guidance. Society is, as Burke said, a contract between the generations. We owe our existence to those who came before us. Through parents and grandparents, we work out how to be. Through teachers and other educators, we work out how to think. We stand on the shoulders of giants in science, technology, history, philosophy, literature, art. Imagine how impoverished our lives would be if we decided that these giants had decided that they simply couldn't be bothered because future generations would dismiss their work with, meh, hey, okay, boomer. So we should respect our elders out of basic human decency as the right thing to do. But if that's not enough of a reason, we can make a pragmatic appeal to the self-interest of young people. Most current claims made about generational conflict rely on a dangerous myth, a myth that has been aggressively promoted to young people, trying to make sense of their predicament in challenging economic and political circumstances. And this myth is that older people have taken more than their fair share of social resources, from housing to healthcare to pensions, and so on. And the idea attached to this myth is that the way to remedy this is to make older people pay, literally, through reducing their pensions and giving up their bus passes, and morally, through admitting that they are the cause of young people's problems, and that they should lay aside their claim to make any decisions about the future of our society. Now, this argument relies on some deeply erroneous assumptions about economics and policy. For example, it assumes that social resources are fixed. There's only so much to go around, and that this will continue indefinitely. It assumes that problems of the economy are problems of people. So the crisis of the housing market, for example, which is the result of dysfunctional economic trends and policy failures, is presented as the fault of older people living in houses that they bought when they were younger themselves. All of this discourse of generational conflict naturalises economic and policy problems, taking responsibility away from political leaders, promoting division and grievance between the generations, and encouraging a sense of fatalism in the young. Also, crucially, it lowers expectations about what young people themselves can hope for as they grow into middle and old age themselves. The ongoing moaning about the cost of pensions or the value of old people's houses might make today's elderly feel bad and today's young feel self-righteous. But in the end, it's young people who will come off worst from policies brought in now to limit the wealth of older people. As the historian Arthur Marwick noted wryly back in 1970, there is probably always one final sanction on the power of youth, the process of growing older. And you don't have to wait for the wrinkles to start appearing. Witness the speed at which concerns about the plight of millennials 10 years ago have morphed into sneers about their sense of entitlement and relative good fortune compared to the misery of Gen Z, growing up through lockdowns, cost of living crises, and fears about the prospect of global war. On lockdowns, just to mention, really there are two questions. First of all, were they designed to protect the elderly from COVID, or were they designed to protect politicians from the media? And secondly, did they actually protect the elderly? Because presenting lockdowns as something that protected the oldest at the expense of the young in a way that has become quite fashionable falls into the same pattern I've just described, of presenting economic and political problems as problems of generations. It's very divisive, it evades responsibility. Finally, the existential reasons why we should respect our elders are again actually grounded in the self-interest of the young. It's precisely because the world today is currently fragmented and unstable. There's a lot of insecurity, a lot of uncertainty about. Our culture is dominated by sentiments of presentism and pessimism that make us feel isolated and apprehensive as we swing from one emergency to another. And it's in this context that we need to draw on the bonds and relationships that gives life a sense of continuity and a sense of meaning that makes us more than our individual selves living in this particular moment. And this means fighting to keep our relationship with the past and the people who lived there. The social and cultural inheritance that has built up over generations, which gives young people the best tools to understand and to deal with the problems of today. Now, this doesn't mean, of course, that the past has the answers or that older people are always right. They're often not. But it's through a conversation with our elders that we can get a longer, more constructive perspective on where things are going wrong and where we see ourselves in history. It is true that young people are the future, but a year zero approach that demands that we start from the crisis of the present and simply try to muddle through on our own is neither possible nor desirable. Ultimately, we cannot have a future without a past. Thank you.